want to fight his own son. Richard no longer trusted him, though, and Henry was forced to make a humiliating surrender. But the worst was still to come. As Henry lay feverish and wretched at Chinon Castle, he learned that John, the son for whom he'd sacrificed so much, had betrayed him, making a private peace with Richard and King Philippe. Henry died 2 days later, crying, "Shame upon a conquered king." Few mourned. As was the way of their world, eyes were already turning from the sunset to the rising sun, to the man acclaimed as one of the best battle commanders in all of Christendom. Richard, first of that name to rule England since the conquest. Chapter 1. July 1189. Aboard the galley San Nicolo. Alicia had been fearful long before she faced death in the Straits of Messina. She'd been afraid since the spring, when she'd lost her father and the only home she'd ever known. Even the arrival of her brother Arnaud did not ease her anxiety, for he was ill-equipped to assume responsibility for a little sister. Arnaud was a warrior monk, one of that famed brotherhood in arms known as the Knights Templar, returning to Outremer to join the struggle to free the holy city of Jerusalem from the infidels, known as Saracens or Turks. Unable either to provide for Alicia's future or to abandon her, he'd felt compelled to take her with him. Alicia was grateful, but bewildered too, for she did not know what awaited her in the Holy Land, and she suspected that her brother did not know either. As he was her only lifeline, she had no choice but to trust in Arnaud and God as they left France behind. The overland journey had been hard upon a young girl unaccustomed to travel. Arnaud had been kind in a distracted sort of way, though, and his fellow Templars had done their best to shield her from the rigours of the road. So some of her anxiety had begun to subside by the time they reached Genoa. But her fear came rushing back as soon as she set foot upon the wet, quaking deck of the San Nicolo. Arnaud was pleased that he'd been able to book passage on a galley, explaining to Alicia that it would not be becalmed like naves and busses that relied solely upon sails, showing her the 2 banks of oars on each side of the ship. Alicia saw only how low it rode in the water, and she no longer worried about her uncertain prospects in Outremer, sure that she'd never survive the sea voyage. She'd become seasick even before the Genoese lighthouse had receded into the distance. During the day, she huddled miserably in her small allotted space on the deck, obeying Arnaud's orders not to mingle with the other passengers, trying to settle her queasy stomach by nibbling on the twice-baked ship's biscuits. While some of the passengers had brought their own food, Arnaud had not, for he took seriously his Templar vows of poverty, obedience, and abstinence. The nights were by far the worst, and Alicia dreaded to see the sun sink into the sea behind them. She slept poorly, kept awake by the creaking and groaning of the ship's timbers, the relentless pounding of waves against the hull, the snoring of their neighbours, and the skittering sound made by rats and mice unseen in the darkness. Each passenger was provided with a terracotta chamber pot, and, with every breath she took, she inhaled the rank smells of urine and vomit and sweat. Lying awake as the hours dragged by until dawn, scratching flea bites and blinking back tears as she remembered the peaceful and familiar life that had once been hers, she yearned for the comfort of her brother's embrace, but Templars were forbidden to show physical affection to women, even their own mothers and sisters. While most of the passengers were males, merchants and pilgrims and swaggering youths who'd taken the cross and boasted endlessly about the great deeds they'd perform in the Holy Land, there were several women returning to Tyre with their husbands after visiting family back in France, and even a few female pilgrims determined to fulfill their vows in the midst of war. One kindly matron